When you walk along the historical blocks of the Gold Coast, the facades of many of these older houses tell you right away there's magnificence inside. This one does something different. It's camouflaged, covered with ivy so that you can't even guess what you're going to find inside. This grand arrival parlor with a wood-paneled staircase that soars up 3 stories, these columns and built-in benches, this would have been originally the arrival point for this entire 10,000 square foot house. Over the years, the house was divided up. Eventually, it had 10 apartments in it. More recently, that's been taken back to 6. In the house and coach house, there are a combination of 6 residential units. The main one here next to me is where the people who own the entire property live, and they have much of the historical details still intact. Much of it is intact here in this music room, including gorgeous tile on this fireplace. Sandy Shelton is the seller of the home. Sandy, this is gorgeous, but I understand when your husband got here in the early 70s, many of these details were hidden.
That's true. They have been covered up, including in the living room. The beams on the ceiling have been painted over. There was a drop ceiling in there. The round windows, the stained glass, that had also been covered over with drywall. And he noticed them from the outside and came in and immediately took the wall down.
Oh, that's wonderful. So he brought back a lot of the detail. You really have a wonderful feeling in here. It feels like a great place to live.
Oh, it's a wonderful place to live. And this is a happy house. I don't know why, but I've always felt happy here. And with the vines on the house, it's like somebody has their arms around you.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And this house is a great place to entertain. We danced. Babe, do you want to show them what we did? We just kind of danced around like this. And I'm sure the people in the high-rise across the street can see us. And what do? We twirl around, but I don't know that we're going to do that today for this
In 1896, when the house was built, more of the dancing would have been done in the ballroom, which would be behind me here in what's called the coach house. That's a separate rental now, and we're not going to go in and disturb people, but you can imagine the sense of procession people would have as they came up from the sidewalk into that arrival area we saw, into that nice formal living room, then here into a large dining room. It still has a lot of its historical detail intact, and then they'd have proceeded on into the ballroom. That scale of living meant that the kitchen was really just for the servants. It's not a whole lot bigger now, and it hasn't been updated in a couple of decades, so what you're probably going to do when you get here is combine that with the office next door into something larger and more informal, an eat-in kitchen like what we'd expect today. As it's laid out now, this home has just 2 bedrooms. This large master and another next door. There are 2 bathrooms on this floor, but you have a whole lot more living space outside the bedrooms here where there is a 4-level deck. It's beautiful. Right now, mid-October, it's on its way down, but I can attest to just how good it looks in the middle of the summer. 19 years ago, I was here to write an article about just how gorgeous their deck plantings were. It's a great spot, so you've got a ton of living space. At the moment, the other half of the second floor is a separate apartment, but let me show you a solution to the fact that this is only a 2-bedroom. From the master closet, you come right out into a hallway. We're still on the second floor. Much of the second floor is this other apartment. It has a formal entrance here off those stairs that we've seen. So what you can do is take all this down, reincorporate all that other apartment into your living space. You have other options. There's the entire 3rd floor is a rental now, also accessed by this grand staircase. You have the coach house could be reincorporated. What you do there is there's just a wall to remove exactly as there is here. And when you're doing that, as you reconfigure, you actually gain some outdoor space for the main residents of the home because several of these apartments have their own outdoor deck. There's a lot to do. You can do an enormous amount of reconfiguring, but as you can see, it won't take a lot of fancy footwork.